Welcome to Rainbow Soul Vodcast, where our Soulstrology comes forward to help you manage your everyday life, with forecasts and deep dives on natal charts and queer perspectives on the planets, transits, and more. A group discussion about upcoming transits with tips on how to read these transits in your own chart. Hollis offers years of wisdom and natal chart knowledge with Bright Hawk's positive perspective and LeKross's inquiry. We offer the complete queer astrology experience. Welcome to Rainbow Soul. Please help us by subscribing, sharing, and commenting and reviewing. You can also learn where else Rainbow Soul is offered on our website at RainbowSoul.show.
Welcome to Rainbow Soul Soulstrology forecast. This is Hollis Taylor, and I'm one of your astrologers here. And I just want to let you know that I do lots of different types of astrology readings. You can get a natal chart or a synastry reading, which is two people and what your relationship's like. I also do a death chart reading that's very unique for people that have already passed on, to help you understand their death more fully. And Bright Hawk and I also recorded a class where you can master basic astrology. So if you're looking to figure out how to read your chart and how to make sense of this stuff a little bit deeper, that class is perfect for you.
Hi there, I'm Bright Hawk. I'm an artist, author, astrologer, storyteller, musician. You can learn more about me at brighthawkproductions.com, and always delighted to be here.
Hi, I'm LeKross. I am the creator of, God, what the heck is the name of my book? The Fool's Journey. That's it. Color journal. It was there. It was right there. I also launched my latest podcast. It's called We Are Semi. It's delving more into indigenous teachings, bringing medicine back to the LGBTQIA plus, and teaching spirituality more geared towards the queer community. So but I just launched it, so be patient. And that's on Spotify and YouTube, and you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Nice. Great. Well, I look forward to hearing your podcast. I should tune in now that you got it launched.
Launched.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, we're all, like I always like to say, is we're all here to create beautiful things. We're all here to manifest something. The trick is figuring out what the hell that is. So I think that's the hardest part. All right, my friends. Let's take a minute to take a deep breath. Ground and center in this moment, in this here and now as you're listening. Close your eyes if you can. Take some deep breaths and just sigh and let it all out. Allow yourself to settle into your body, and with the exhale, just let that tension roll off of your body. And as you get quiet and inside, allow yourself to imagine you're outside on a beautiful sunny day, and the sun is glaring down on you in this beautiful spring day. Spring has truly sprung. You can smell fat flowers all around you and feel the warmth of the sun on your skin. Feel comfortable outside. And in the glares of the sun, you have a visual. of what looks like to start with the Roman numeral number 2. And that number 2 turns into twins, 2 beings facing each other, holding each other, and within each other. Feeling that energy of the sun doubled, twice as loud as it usually is in the spring. As the Gemini energy of where the sun is now enters into your heart, you begin to understand and know the twin, what it feels like to have a twin, someone just like you, or to feel that sort of split where most of the time you're this person, but right now you feel like someone else. And the Gemini energy that networks, knows people, is good at understanding who other people are and what they do. Communication being at our highest level in Gemini, with Mercury pushing through the messages of spirit through the center of Gemini. And feeling that double energy around you and within you. Feeling how Gemini inspires you to network and connect with people you know and even people you don't. To meet new people and to spread your connection and to understand the value of good communication and the diversity of interests and drive and what drives us, and the experimentation with many paths. Gemini inspires us to find variety, to find different ways to do different things. And as you lovingly accept the blessings and the inspiration of the sun and Gemini in this moment, your awareness comes back to yourself standing in the sunshine on a beautiful sunny day with the sun warming your skin, helping you feel understood, seen, and cherished. Take that in with a nice deep breath as you also take in the heat of the sun. Take that into yourself. And come back into your present self in the here and now, in the presence of your body now. Feeling your toes and your fingers. Open your eyes. And come back here. the presence of now. Woohoo! Well done, Bright Hawk. By the way, in the very near future, Bright Hawk and I are starting to work on, we have it scheduled in our schedule to work on releasing and creating regular guided meditations. Okay? So, if that's your thing, please stay tuned. We'll be giving more information about that. Okay? And, wow. So the reason I did that meditation today was because, it's even funny because I said something to a group of friends and about how Gemini energy can sometimes bring up people's crazies. And it's not because every Gemini is crazy, right? It's more like, because that's not true at all. It's more like if you already are a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and then the sun goes into Gemini, you could both, you know, if you have several personalities, and I don't mean to say that people would split personality, but there are some people out there that are a little bit more on like BPD, which is, you know, having many personalities. And there are people that are more on the schizophrenia scale, but they still have sort of multiple personalities. Sometimes Gemini can kind of agitate that. I think it might just be because of the twin energy. It doesn't mean like every crazy person is now going to be crazy. It just means if you were already on the edge of that, and now the sun enters Gemini, you're probably going to feel that. You know, it's probably going to get amplified, right? And if you're like that, you're probably not listening to this broadcast anyway. But I said that to my friends, and she was like, I'm a Gemini. And I'm like, not every Gemini. Oh my gosh, I'm not saying you're crazy. Oh my gosh. So, see what I mean? Gemini can sometimes make our mental health go for a ride. It can take us way farther than what things mean. Like, it's because Gemini is very sort of thinking. It's all about what you think, what you thought. And it's also very intelligent, frankly. So sometimes it can be really good. Like if you're doing a really intelligent job that requires some thinking, that'll probably get better while the sun's in Gemini. So, you know, it's just that you want to listen to your thoughts. Just know what your thoughts are really saying. Listen to them, but don't take them seriously. Just know what they're saying, and then try not to react to them. Try not to react to them, right? So
we get to this week's astrology.
Yeah.
May 20th to the 26th.
Thank you. Zoom, man. Sometimes it keeps me from pushing the buttons. So, look, it's beautiful. Spring is happening. It's actually happening where you are at too, LeKross, right? Like here,
yeah, finally.
It finally stopped snowing.
Feels like it's finally.
Mm-hmm.
And you can watch spring literally coming up the mountain. So when I drove down the mountain, I'm noticing that as you get towards the bottom, the aspens are starting to bud, and the cottonwoods, and you know, the trees. You know, up at our place, the aspen haven't even realized they should be budding. You know,
Mm-hmm.
So it comes a lot later.
Yeah, it'll be here soon, though. It'll be here soon.
Happy spring, everybody.
Happy spring and happy birthday, Gemini.
Happy birthday, Geminis.
You're not crazy, I swear. Um, so of course the sun enters Gemini this week, on May 20th. And as I said, it just sometimes brings out our double face, our two sides. I think almost all of us have some sort of like two-sided, like if you piss us off, you might meet a portion of us that you may not want to normally meet. And in other situations as well. And that's probably in your chart, by the way. And Gemini also brings out a lot of the thinking thoughts. You'll tend to, spend a lot more time up in the monkey brain. So if you need to quiet that monkey brain down, some meditation and stuff could be really helpful. If your personality is, if your emotions are kind of taking off behind those thoughts, some meditation might help. So now the funny thing is that the sun is sort of being followed by Jupiter. Jupiter's right behind the sun, and I think it enters in just a couple of, like next week.
No, it's in this week.
It's in this week, okay.
But the thing to see there is that it's the sun, Jupiter, Venus, Uranus. Jupiter and Uranus, they've been dancing together for quite a while, and now they're starting to separate.
Right.
And they're 6 degrees most of this time. And Venus, of course, moves much quicker than Jupiter does.
Mm-hmm.
So Venus is going to overtake Jupiter and join Sun and Gemini sooner, and then Jupiter, and then...
Well, Uranus is a while.
Uranus will take a while because it's an outside
slow
mover. So,
but we have a lot of energy about to enter Gemini, so we're gearing up for that mental energy, which can be really good for some of us, depending on what we're into. Especially if you're trying to like spread inspiration. It can be inspirational sometimes. It can also be sort of like, the thing about Gemini is, if you've ever known a Gemini, a lot of times they know everybody, at least a little bit, and they usually celebrate that person's strength. So they usually try to like bring out that person's strength. And so that's an interesting thing about Gemini. So you might find that I think that's what kind of makes it feel inspirational, okay? It's not just because it's spring, it's because that sun in Gemini, that Gemini energy tends to lift up inspiration. Although I do think Jupiter is in its detriment. No, it's not. Okay. Yeah, it is. It's in its detriment in Gemini. So, what does that mean, Jupiter? Well, we'll talk about that when we get to it. But this, on Monday, we got the sun makes the first step into Gemini and starts to shine the light into Gemini and show us, maybe point out some of our thoughts, which could be really helpful, especially since it's in a trine. There's a minor trine there. That's that little blue triangle there with Pluto, which is about transformation and maybe we're seeing how our interactions with others and with the collective in general, maybe our thoughts are leading to that. Maybe we have some belief systems that need to shift in relation. So the sun in Gemini in a trine to Pluto, in a trine to Neptune, and that little minor trine there, that's really asking for you to notice your thoughts and maybe change them accordingly. And I think that's really important. Change your thoughts and how they're leading to certain belief systems, because Neptune is definitely about belief systems. So I think that's kind of the most important thing early on in the week. So if you start like recognizing your thoughts all of a sudden, where you're like, I just thought that I suck, and so now I'm kind of feeling like a low self-esteem. The two are connected, I assure you. They are connected.
The interesting thing about Monday is that we have this sort of extended void of course moon, and so the moon is currently in Libra, and it started the void of course on Sunday the 19th, and it goes all the way through Monday, depending on where you are. It ends Mountain Time at 4:35 p.m. at which point it goes into Scorpio. So the Libra moon is, the moon period has some interesting aspects. It has, for one thing, it's directly opposite of Mercury, and it creates a T-square with Pluto at the top facilitating it. So what does that mean? Mercury is communication, how we communicate, what we communicate with, transportation. And so the moon is in a conversation opposite of Mercury. Mercury, of course, is in Taurus. And Pluto, planet of transformation, higher octave of Mars, always wanting to know how we're going to change, what we're going to do about it, how do we need to grow and change and transform? That's Pluto, right? So that's an interesting configuration. And then on top of that, we also have a yod, or a finger of God. And the finger of God is pointing at the moon, and the base of it is the Sun-Jupiter conjunction, Sun-Jupiter-Venus, really.
I was supposed to say Venus in there too.
And the other side of the base is Neptune. So Neptune, Hollis was just saying, we're talking about our dreams,
belief systems,
that
spirituality, faith.
That is now in a sextile at the bottom with Jupiter and the Sun, and all of that is pointing towards the moon. How do you feel about it? Are you changing how you're thinking about your belief systems? Are you seeing things and wanting to take action in a new and different way?
Yeah, Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. So,
thank you.
Yeah,
I was going to mention that.
Yeah, so that also, when the moon moves over there, it's going to come back to our thoughts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like,
how do you feel? What are you thinking?
All of a sudden, I feel like I have low self-esteem, and then realizing that just before that, you thought, la la la. Does that make sense? Mercury. Yeah, Mercury could say that. Yeah, that's interesting. I like that yod there. That yod feels like it's very much in harmony with that blue trine there, with Pluto and the Sun and Neptune. That feels, they both feel very resonant, like they're kind of the same thing, if that makes sense. Like they're both sort of bringing forth the same transformational energy. And when we find things more than once in a chart, we know that that's what's going to be pushed through.
And I also wonder, the moon will have just passed over the south node, so that always makes me wonder about people from your past coming back, saying hello. It's in Libra, old relationships.
Or maybe they triggered you.
Or maybe triggered you to think about old relationships.
Mm-hmm. Or they just by being who they are, like, if my mom called me, she could say la la la, and I would be triggered. Okay, because she is who she is. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't even matter what she says. Because she is who she is, that person could trigger you. So, especially because it's in Libra. It's just who they are. You know what I mean? Just like if you're, certain people call you, it doesn't matter what they say. You're going to be like, what are you after? What do you want? You know what I mean? Like, it's going to trigger some sort of thing inside of you that might... and then that's when you start to think about relationships and what you are thinking in relation to relationships. And that's Gemini is really going to bring the sun is really going to shine on your thoughts, and your process of thinking. Yeah.
Right. So give yourself good thoughts. And and if you're joining us for the first time and you're not familiar with the term, what is a void of course moon? I want to make sure I just always try to give a little sentence about that. The void of course moon is when the moon is at the last degrees of one sign before it goes into another. And in this case, this is a very long void of course moon. The thing about void of course moons is that it's not a time to launch things. It's not a time to initiate, take action. You can think deeply. It's a great time for reflection. It's a great time for self-care. It's a great time for using the fact that the moon has very little energy, so there's no drama. So if you actually had to have a hard conversation, it might be great to do during a void of course moon because there's no energy. Especially if you're like, God, I just want this to just go away. You could do that during a void of course moon. So I'm including them because they can be super helpful for you to realize, oh, Monday the 20th, my schedule looks, can I move some things around so I can have a little more space in it? You might want to on Monday. You might want to have a little more flexibility. And I always encourage self-care because it's good to take care of yourself. And in some cases, you might be the only one who can and needs to, so self-care, it's always a good thing.
So it's like from Sunday to Monday, right?
Yeah, it starts on Sunday evening and goes through Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, and you'll see it, the moon moves through a sign about every 2.5 days. And frequently, the void of course moon is just that last hour, 2 hours before it switches into the next sign. So now, of course, it's going from Libra, which is cardinal air, and it's moving into Scorpio, which is fixed water. Scorpio is very spiritual. A Scorpio moon is a very psychic person, somebody who really sees things. And so the Scorpio moon is really...
so it'll be really strong on Tuesday when it's
really
deep
strong.
in there when it's no longer void.
Yeah, Monday night it'll be into Scorpio and very strong on Tuesday. Yeah, your psychics would probably be happy with that configuration on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to book a reading, Tuesday's a good day to book a reading.
Mm-hmm. Tuesday's a good day because Scorpio moon, especially if you are a Scorpio moon, because a lot of psychics are Scorpio moons, interestingly enough. But not all of them, but often some psychics have some sort of Scorpio placement that is because Scorpio is very psychic. It's known as the mystery and the detective. So actually Scorpio is a detective. Scorpios are really good at finding the root of something. They'll find the root of it and they'll know the root of it. So don't ever try to lie to a Scorpio because it probably won't go well. And even if they don't say anything, they probably know that you're lying. And that's what you will find out with anyone with a strong Scorpio placement. If you have any major personal planet in Scorpio, so you want to look at your Scorpio. If you have the moon there, you have rising there, you have Venus or Mars, Mercury, a personal planet. Those are personal planets. So it's the sun, the moon, Venus, Mars, Mercury, or of course the rising sign. If any of those are in Scorpio, if someone lies to you, you're probably going to see right through it. Now, for a person with Mars in Scorpio, they're probably going to want to strangle you. If it's a Venus in Scorpio, well, they might feel like they want to love you. They might value you even though you lied. Or they might unvalue you. They might cut you off from their love. Okay? And then if it's the moon, they're going to try to have deep understanding of why you're lying. If it's a Scorpio rising, they're probably going to blame it on trauma. And then probably try to just have understanding and compassion for you. If it's a Scorpio sun, they'll probably just cut you the fuck off. And that's that. You've lied to them and they're done. And it's a funny thing because Scorpios in their shadow will lie. And that's the most interesting part of that.
Oh, wow.
So sometimes, I think it's Brene Brown who says sometimes like the things that like really annoy us about other people are often things that we do. So
sure.
Just saying, and not doesn't mean all Scorpios lie. That's silly to think that way. What it really means is that if that person hasn't done their work and doesn't recognize how lying hurts people or how being dishonest hurts someone, then they'll probably lie. Okay. So, so you just want a healthier version of a Scorpio. They probably will never lie to you. I know Scorpios that have 2 or 3 planets in Scorpio, and they will tell the truth even if it hurts them. Okay.
Wow.
So it really is about the shadow and the light of things. So,
So Scorpio moon, it means that this moon
oh,
is
and the full on Wednesday, huh?
Yeah. Well, the moon is full usually 2 nights. So the first night it's in Scorpio, the second night it's in Sagittarius, which is really the true, opposite at 2 degrees or 3 degrees, I think.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm.
So it'll be tomorrow's chart.
But it sort of starts
what I was
the
going to
full
say
process.
about Scorpio, of course, is Scorpio is ruled by Mars and Pluto. So the moon is going to answer to Mars and Pluto. And Mars is in still conjunct Chiron in the North Node in Aries. And Pluto is still retrograde, slowly backing up in Aquarius, headed back to Capricorn. So, so let's get to the full moon.
Well, and the full moon on this day, what I'm just going to say is that it's going to continue that trine that we talked about early in the week with the sun in a trine to Pluto, but it's a perfect trine on this day, on Wednesday. And then it's they're both in a sextile to Neptune, making that minor trine there, which really, really, really is about changing for the better, recognizing how maybe our negative thoughts or our thinking that we suck or whatever it is could actually be sabotaging us, and maybe we need to change the way we think. And that's really important. So just wanna say that there, because I feel like that minor trine is still playing out.
For sure.
And then with the Scorpio moon, that could make you even aware of it. Like the Scorpio moon could even like accentuate it, because Scorpio tends to make everything deeper and more intense. Just doesn't even matter. It's just deeper and more intense.
So the big headline on Thursday is that Jupiter-Uranus is exact in their not Jupiter. Jupiter and Venus.
I see that.
So Jupiter and Venus are both at 29 degrees. And when Jupiter meets Venus, it's love amplified. So think Venus, think love, values, relationships. Jupiter amplifies those things. So it can be a very lucky in love kind of day. And the other piece I wanted to point out was that the moon goes void in the morning, and this time it's not even an hour. It's just an hour, 7:27 to 8:24 in the morning Mountain Time. And then the moon goes from watery Scorpio to fiery Sag. And we like to say when the moon is in Sagittarius, it sparkles. Of course, Sagittarius is known for philosophies and wanting everybody to have a good time and bringing the party and having fun and seeing the big picture of justice and goodness and the best way to live and move forward in a good way. So that's always feels good to me, says the Sag sun.
I'm also thinking about that Venus-Jupiter conjunction in Taurus is like finances, money, luck. So if there was anything you're supposed to do financially, or any kind of thing like that, and for those Geminis out there or people with Gemini on their MC, what does that mean? If you look at your circle chart at the top, there's an arrow pointing up. And if that's Gemini, or Gemini is just in that 10th house, that has to do with career. And if Jupiter is moving into there somewhere, especially wherever 0 degrees Gemini is, the first 3 degrees, first 5 degrees of Gemini, if there's anything there, that's going to get lit up. So if it has anything to do with your MC or Saturn, or Jupiter, then you're probably going to want to do whatever it is you do for money. Because that could be a good financial day. Whether you invest, whether you have a job, whether you ask for a promotion, ask for a raise, anything like that, do it around this day. Even though Jupiter is in its detriment, I still think with the sun there and Jupiter there, I mean, Jupiter even in its detriment might not be, a windfall or anything, but Venus is there and she's about to enter Gemini. So this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, definitely I would be.
So for those of you who are wondering what is this term detriment, we're always trying to make sure we don't speak jargon. Learning astrology is learning a language that has a lot of jargon, so we always try to make it very accessible. Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and Gemini and Sagittarius are opposite each other. So and of course, that's what creates a full moon, right? The sun is opposite the moon. So with Jupiter in Taurus going into Gemini, which it'll happen in a day or two here, that's why we say Jupiter is in its detriment. When a planet is opposite home, as far away from home as it can be, it's in its detriment. It's not as strong. There's a variety of values we look at. Is a planet retrograde? Is it exalted? Is it in its detriment? Is it in its home, in its rulership? And it tells us what in the chart is expressing the most strongly and what is going to be quieter or weaker. So that's what the word detriment is. That's why when we look at Jupiter entering Gemini, we go, that's not where Jupiter really likes to be. It's not the strongest place for it to be. It's actually its weakest place all the way across the
its favorite exalted, which is a higher vibration of where its home is. Where it's at its best is actually in Cancer, which will be the next sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, so just pay attention to that. Pay attention to find out where Gemini is in your chart. What house is it ruling? Because whatever house it's ruling, that's the area of your life it's probably going to affect. Okay? So paying attention to that, I think, will be very important. Mm-hmm. Just listening to that. And there it is. Venus is going to move, bam, very quickly into Gemini, right behind the sun. Eventually she'll catch up to the sun. But with Venus there, Venus is like about money. It's about gifts. It's about relationships. And it's also about self-love and the love of others and compassion and everything that has to do with love, really. So, and that's pretty much, and feminine, female things. And and now Jupiter is right up next to Gemini and right up next to the sun. And I just feel like this is going to be a blessing, especially with Venus there. But Jupiter is in its detriment, so it could be a little bit quieter. It may not make it so amplified, but I still feel like Venus is there, so Venus is going to make it positive.
And think about, you're ready to leave the house, right? Because Venus is in its rulership in Taurus, right? Venus rules Taurus. So, think about you've gone from kicking back at home, and Venus has been in Taurus for a while, and now we're moving into Gemini, and we're thinking, and we got things to do. We're gonna have a conversation with the sun as we cruise on through, and went boom, bada boom, bada boom, and so Venus has taken on a different vibe. She's left home, and we're in that Gemini air, and all of the things that have been stacked up in Taurus are all gonna stack up in Gemini. But now we have forward momentum. So Mercury's moving faster every day. Venus is moving faster every day. Jupiter and Uranus, they're just going to move at the tortoise pace they move at, period. They're big, they're slow. And the energy, I think, if you don't feel the Gemini energy when the sun enters it, maybe you feel it when Venus enters it. If you don't feel it when Venus enters it, maybe you'll feel it when Jupiter enters it, if you're a Sag, perhaps. These movements are felt by all of us. And depending on what your chart is going to be how do you react to air. Is air feel easy breezy to you, or does it feel like something different? So this week is that ripple of Gemini energy as, you know, one steps in, then the next one, then the next one.
Right, and as it amps up on Saturday, you know, it looks like the moon is coming in, but we still have that trine going on, but now Venus is involved, so that's money. So, you know, you might have some thoughts about how you're spending your money and how you can transform the way you're spending your money. Maybe you use a card that gets points or something like that. You know, that's a very Gemini thing to do because it's highly intelligent, right? Okay, and so, you know, whatever it is financially, maybe you'll figure out a better way to do it or a better way to manage it or whatever it is, because Gemini is good for thinking things through. And with Venus there, Venus is going to be like, okay, I think, you know, we don't have to have all the luxurious items we had in Taurus. Like, maybe we could have one less thing. Okay, maybe we could do without that extra thing. Okay, and that could make your finances a little bit better, especially with Pluto over there in Aquarius asking for change.
And as for Sagittarius, and remember when the moon was in Sagittarius, we're at that transition point, the 25th. It's answering to Jupiter, and as you can see, the moon is across the sky from the sun, Venus, Jupiter, Uranus. So that opposition energy. Now, the moon is going to go void on Saturday afternoon at 2:46 p.m. It's only going to be, it's not even an hour this time. It's 50 minutes. That's why when I saw that giant void of course moon on Monday, I checked that thing so many times. I was like, that's possible? You know, it's like void half of Libra, you know. So this is what I'm used to seeing. You know, take an hour off, take 2 hours off, take a nap, take a walk, eat a meal, be good to yourself. You're switching, the moon is switching from Sagittarius, it's leaving fiery Sag, and it's entering earthy Capricorn. And of course, when the moon is in Capricorn, it's as far from home as it can be. So we say the moon is in detriment when it is in Capricorn, because it's as far from Cancer, the opposite side of the sky, as it can be. So the moon is not as strong in Capricorn. But Capricorn moon is very practical, very business oriented. You keep talking about business, taking care of business. This is a moon in Capricorn is a take care of business kind of thing. And a good opportunity that way.
Yeah, I always think of Gemini as good at business too, maybe just because it's a good networker. So that's why I guess I kind of think of that. And so then on Sunday, Jupiter will finally enter Gemini, and when it does, that's really going to push that energy through. Although Jupiter, as we've said, is a little bit quieter in Gemini, but Venus is still there, the sun is still there. It's going to shine brightly and bring through whatever thoughts and thinking through that we need to work on, which I think will be really important. And, you know, with that trine still going on there with Pluto, that's really asking for change. So really this week, pay attention to your thoughts, pay attention to what you're thinking, listen to your thoughts, But sometimes we have a lot of thoughts and we don't listen to them. Like we react to them, but we don't really listen to them. And sometimes our thoughts are triggered by things in the outside world. Like I said, like if my mom called me and said la la la, I would be triggered, right? Okay. It could just be because you thought of your mom, or it was Mother's Day, or because you thought of that person that abused you, your ex, or whatever it was. It can sometimes trigger you, and then your thoughts will run away with you a little bit, and then you will feel like crap, and then you have to sort of reverse. Wait a minute, go back. What was I thinking before I felt anxious? That's really important to do. If you find yourself feeling anxious, ADHD, like scattered, even if you wake up like that, I would start questioning, what was I thinking first thing in the morning? What was I thinking before I went to bed? Did I have a dream? Something may have triggered you, especially if you're very anxious or angry, or feeling any kind of thing that doesn't feel quite right. If it feels off, I would be questioning what happened.
And ask yourself a good question, like, what is seeking to be recognized? Is something trying to emerge? What is asking for my attention? What can I learn? You always want to ask yourself a good question. Good quests begin with good questions.
Yeah, so I don't have an answer for why I was feeling scattered, for instance, especially a little bit with that so-called ADHD response. I don't really completely believe in that. I believe that ADHD is a sign of being hyper intelligent and being excited to learn, and not having the tool to direct it. And so then you jump around from thing to thing. And so I think that when I feel scattered like that, if I'm having a hard time focusing on something, I actually will just take a deep breath and just allow myself to jump from thing to thing. And sometimes I notice when I do readings for people with strong Gemini placements, it's so funny because I'll be like, how you jump from thing to thing? And they'll be like, yeah. And I'll be like, yeah, that's a Gemini trait. It's just because you're highly intelligent. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Just allow it to be. Instead of judging it as there's something wrong with you,
Right.
There's nothing wrong with you. You're supposed to jump from subject to subject. And today, maybe since the sun is in Gemini, maybe you're not supposed to focus on one thing. Maybe you're supposed to have 4 different projects to open at once. Who cares? Just do it. Okay? And if you have a priority, then that's sometimes how I decide what to work on first. Where I'm like, oh my God, I feel overwhelmed. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Does one of these have like a time restraint? Like, does it have to be done by a certain day? Okay, let's do that one first. And then that's and that's nothing more than what I just gave you as a tool. It's just that no one taught you that tool when you were 5. Instead, they just try to make you focus and try to make you feel bad because you were thinking about 10 different things. And there's nothing wrong with having 10 different toys out of the toy box. Frankly, I think you can play with all 10 at once, and you just take a turn on each one, and you leave them all out, and you play with them as you want. It's okay. I just think it shows intelligence, frankly. And so, so that would be my suggestion. My child was diagnosed with ADHD. My grandchildren have been diagnosed with ADHD. And I feel that it's just a matter of tools. I think it's just a matter of having the right tools. Making lists, physical lists, write it down. Okay, I have 5 projects open, write them all down, then write down if any of them has any priority, and then start numbering them. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's get this one done first. All right, let's get this one done first. It has a priority. Okay.
So, I'm looking at this moon, this Capricorn moon.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, a Capricorn moon means that the moon will answer to Saturn. Saturn rules Capricorn. And the moon happens to be in a sextile to Saturn. So that means it's a very pleasant conversation, easy conversation. And there's a trine with the moon, Mercury, and Uranus. And somehow looking at Mercury, communication, and Uranus, surprise, I just keep looking at that and getting comedy. Like on Sunday, let us know if you end up in a conversation where something falls out of somebody's mouth and everybody is rolling on the floor. Could you let me know?
Is it funny?
I just look at that trine Mercury Uranus and I'm like, somebody's gonna be funny. It's gonna be funny for somebody. I hope it's a good funny. I could be wrong, but if that's true for anyone out there, I'd love to know. I'd love to know.
That's interesting. Well, and
So that's the week.
and if you feel a little scattered, don't worry about it. Just make a list.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't judge it. Don't give yourself a hard time. Just make a list. And I'm just going to end this. So, LeKross, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Sure, we're going into deer season and not hunting.
Talk about scattered.
Yeah, exactly. Not hunting. We're actually going into deer season, and I found it interesting how you were talking about thoughts and the thoughts that we can give ourselves. And deers can go from one extreme to another. It can walk very gentle and soft, and it can sprint and destroy your car. Okay. You hit a deer, your car's totaled. The deer's dead, but your car is dead too. And I think that's where thoughts are really important. If you're not careful with your thoughts and you're not gentle with your thoughts, whether it's with your thoughts to yourself or your thoughts about other people, you can hit that car and total that car. You can hit that person and total that other person. And don't just be gentle with your thoughts and other people just for them, but mostly for you, because we have a tendency, even though we think somebody may have rightfully deserved our thought or our comment, they may have deserved it, but it doesn't change the fact that you may feel guilty afterwards for having that thought because you didn't know the full circumstance. So I think this is a real time to walk out of the woods lightly, tread lightly, and be gentle with yourself and others. And like I said, not others just for them, more so for you, so you don't have to feel like you got hit by that deer and totaled your car. So I think that's something that's pretty interesting that kind of stood out to me with the reading.
Well said. I love that,
Yeah.
Madison.
I love that. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
deep.
I love deer.
Yeah, we have a lot of deer around us.
Sometimes I find watching deer is peaceful. Did you ever do
Yeah.
that? Did you ever just watch like deer graze or something?
Mhm.
Just watch them. Kind of feels very peaceful.
There is that sweetness and gentleness to just how they move, how they eat, there's a beauty to that.
Yeah, I hate when my dog chases them. I'm always like, no, don't do that. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, leave them alone.
And they scatter. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I appreciate that, LeKross. I appreciate you bringing in that deer energy.
What do the cards have to say?
So the cards here are the Pride deck, Love is Love deck. You can look it up and on Amazon. I'm going to pin this up so you can see this card. This first card is a reminder of what has been or what was before. And this is very much about your thoughts.
Swords.
Okay.
Yeah.
Swords is about thoughts. And this is about what we do with our thoughts. And the King of Swords is usually a master of thoughts, meaning that if we control our thoughts, we can sometimes manage our feelings a little bit better, okay? And that's what the King of Swords sort of stands for, that when we master our thoughts, when we are able to manage our thoughts in a good way, we're better able to master our world. Like we're better able to manage our home and manage our energy. And that's pretty much what this card is about. It's the King of Swords, and it's meant to remind you of that. Okay, and it's a very it's a very balanced card and wise. Okay, so this is about the wise thoughts that you've had. Maybe you've done some affirmations in the past or something else that was good, because in the here and now, then you'll recognize your blessings, because the sun is all about blessings. It is all about the gifts that the sun brings. You know, the sun warms the waters, the sun brings rainbows, the sun brings joy and happiness and celebration and manifestations. And that's really what this is about. This is about celebrating ourselves and celebrating what we're doing. And that's really what the sun is all about. And as we go forward with the King of Swords, and our thoughts, and then our positive, whatever's going on right now this week, especially with Venus and Gemini and stuff like that, I feel like there could be some good stuff happening, eh? And when great things start to manifest, that we celebrate and find gratitude for them. And at the same time, this is the Judgment card. Now, sometimes people hear judgment and the first thing they think is, oh, you shouldn't judge people, right? Okay. That's kind of true, but it's not completely true, because if you didn't judge, you would have no opinion about if a person was toxic for you or not. So that's not exactly true. You need your judgment to help you make good choices. The trick is try not to be overly judgmental. And that's, Virgos like to be overly judgmental sometimes. And so, but you still need discernment, and judgment feeds discernment. Okay. You need judgment in order to have some discernment. Okay. And that's just basically like, is this person okay for me? Maybe I shouldn't spend time with them. Every time I spend time with this person is okay. And that's what this card is about. This is about recognizing what's good for you and what's not. And whether it is that you're over judging that person, or whether it is that you're having good discernment, okay? And sometimes that is a hard balance. Trust me, I'm a Virgo. I struggle with that thought all the time. Am I being over judgy, or am I using good discernment? Okay, like it's like my number one question in the world, okay? I struggle with that almost on a daily basis, okay? So just know that you got to trust your guides. You got to trust your feeling, because that's what this is a reminder of. See, that's why the angel's in the sky playing music, and you have like this child, which represents our inner child, and the women, the sort of more feminine, motherly figures around the child, supporting the child's raising of the vibration, with the angels bringing in the music. I really think this is about listen to your intuition, okay? And that's really what you got to do. So again, remember, whatever your thoughts were that you had, maybe they were really good thoughts and they helped you shine the light, they helped you have a better stability home. Maybe they even brought through messages from spirit. That's what that little shell is. It's like a little shell that helps bring messages in. And I believe the ocean is like the divine, and that's like a shell from the ocean. And it's bringing in messages from the sunshine, messages from the divine. And you've heard those messages, and you tried to do things, and you've manifested a really good life. And things are going really well for you. And, Spirit's reminding you to be grateful for those things, and have those things, and celebrate those things. This is really about celebration too, and enjoying what you do have, because that's super important. And as you go forward, to remember that there is some discernment, and to listen to your intuition. Your intuition, just like a deer you're going to have good intuition. Geminis often have pretty good intuition too. And so the intuition is going to say, hey, it's not that you're really judging that person. It's that that person's not good for you. Just let them go. Okay? And that's really what this is about. This is about having that discernment about what's really good for you and what's not. Okay? All right.
Very good. Good reading.
Great reading. Yeah.
Thanks.
Fascinating.
Thanks. I love that sun card. It's very rare that I get it.
So beautiful.
Isn't it great?
Such a pretty card.
Every time I get that card, I'm like, hey.
It just makes you feel like sunshine.
It makes me feel like pride. That's what it makes me feel like. We're going to pride, right? Yeah. So, yeah.
Yep.
Well, we hope you have a great week. Thank you so much for listening, for sharing, for subscribing. It's been great seeing people's comments.
And Geminis out there, let us know. How's it going for you as the sun and Jupiter and Venus coming in there, lighten up your world, lighten up your sun sign, your rising sign, your moon sign. How's it going for the Geminis out there? I don't think any of us are Gemini. So we'd love to hear from you. We're here for you. We want to hear all about it.
Absolutely. And thank you for watching Rainbow Soul, Rainbow Soulstrology. I was about to say Rainbow Soul, where we try to be a bridge between you and the stars. See you next week. Thank you for listening to this week's Soulstrology and subscribing, liking, sharing, and reviewing. We hope you enjoy this dose of Soulstrology and encourage you to embrace the week ahead with an open mind and heart so that you may integrate the deepest of lessons from the stars. Take a moment to step outside and honor the planets, stars, and moon in the sky with your heart. Integrate the messages that resonate and leave the rest for someone else. We deeply appreciate each and every one of you. Always remember that you are a perfectly unique human with an exclusive star map of your destiny, your soul purpose, and your heart's desire. Thank you again for tuning in to Rainbow Soul.